The safe house was under siege. Gunfire shattered windows. Explosions rocked the foundation. Armed men poured through the perimeter like a flood. Adrian moved through the chaos with lethal precision, weapon drawn, body positioned between danger and Alina. "Stay back," he shouted, pushing her deeper into the compound. Alina, visibly pregnant, her belly massive now, stumbled forward. Pain shot through her. She gasped. "Adrian!" "Not now, move." More gunfire. The walls erupted. This was the opening, the moment everything collapsed. And nobody saw it coming. If you've made it this far, you know Adrian's choice changed everything. But now, everything he fought for is under attack, and this time there's no escape. Subscribe now because part 3 is about to get darker than you imagined. And trust me, this ending will destroy you. Let's go. 3 weeks earlier, Isabella sat across from Bill Carter at an upscale restaurant overlooking the city. The decision to meet him had been strategic, not personal. She wanted answers. Bill arrived on time, composed, intelligent. He ordered coffee and spoke about art, business, life. They had a healthy and proper conversation as matured people would. Then came his next words. "I lost my mother at a young age," he said casually, stirring his cup. "Raised by my uncle, he taught me everything." Isabella listened. No alarms, just a man talking about his past. She didn't know he was describing the architecture of a lie. Days passed, more meetings. Bill became someone she consulted with mentally, not romantically, just present, different from Adrian, different from everyone. Then Adrian arrived at her office with rage in his eyes. "He's connected to Victor." Isabella's posture didn't shift. "Proof. Financial trails, family links, it's there." She investigated, deep, and what she found wasn't that Bill was helping Victor. It was that Victor had been using Bill all along. And worse, Victor had killed Bill's mother when she found out. Isabella called Bill. They met privately. She showed him everything. Bill's reaction wasn't anger first. It was devastation. His life, his business, built on a corpse. "My mother," he whispered. "Victor." The silence that followed was heavier than any scream. "I'm ending this," Bill said quietly. "I'm ending him." The attack came without warning. A guard was compromised. Security was breached. Victor's men flooded the property. Adrian fought like a man defending his entire world, because he was. Alina was in labor. Her contractions had started an hour before the assault. The universe had terrible timing. "Get her to the safe room," Adrian barked at Rebecca Morris, who moved immediately, shielding Alina as bullets tore through drywall. Adrian engaged the attackers, weapon raised, no hesitation, no mercy. Then Victor Kane appeared. He moved through the chaos like a man who'd already won. His black hat was pristine despite the violence, his expensive suit untouched, his silver wristwatch gleamed. Adrian saw him, and everything crystallized. Years of pain, his father's broken body, his mother's grave, all of it converged. "You," Adrian said. Victor smiled, still fighting, still weak. They moved toward each other. The first punch came from Adrian, raw, desperate, fueled by years of rage. Victor absorbed it and countered. They traded blows across the collapsing safe house. No words, just violence. Adrian had technique. Victor had experience. But Adrian had something else, nothing left to lose. He drove Victor backward, toward the main entrance. That's when Bill appeared. Bill Carter stood in the doorway, weapon in hand, and faced his uncle for the first time, knowing the truth. "Did you kill my mother?" Bill asked. Victor didn't even turn around. She was in the way. The words landed like a bullet. Bill shot at him. Victor fell. It wasn't clean. It wasn't heroic. It was necessary. Adrian stared at Bill. Bill stared at the body. Neither moved. Then the federal agents arrived. Isabella had called them the moment the attack began. The perimeter was secured. The remaining attackers were contained. Victor Kane, the man who'd orchestrated everything, lay dead on the floor of a safe house he tried to destroy. Alina gave birth 40 minutes later. A girl, healthy, screaming, perfect. Adrian held her as tears streamed down his face. Alina lay exhausted but smiling. Rebecca stood guard outside the room, securing the perimeter despite the federal presence. The baby had been born into chaos and emerged into safety. That was enough. Hours later, after federal agents had taken statements and the safe house had been cleared, Isabella arrived. She moved through the halls with purpose. Adrian met her outside Alina's room. "It's over," she said simply. Adrian nodded. He couldn't speak. Isabella walked past him and entered the room. Alina was sleeping, the baby nestled in her arms. Isabella watched them for a long moment, the family that had survived everything. Bill appeared behind her, still moving like a man in shock. Isabella turned to face both of them. Adrian had joined them. The three of them stood in the quiet room, watching the newborn sleep. "Power doesn't destroy people," Isabella said quietly, her eyes moving between Adrian and Bill. "It reveals who they really are." The words hung in the silence. Adrian understood. Bill understood. They had chosen differently than Victor. They had chosen conscience over control, love over revenge, though Bill's revenge had been justice, not cruelty. The baby stirred in Alina's arms but didn't wake. Outside, the city glowed with morning light. 1 month later, Adrian sat in Isabella's office, now officially as chief security officer. The position was permanent, the salary substantial, but more importantly, he was trusted. "Victor's empire collapsed," Isabella said, reviewing documents. "Federal seizure, all of it gone." Adrian nodded. He'd already known. "Bill is restructuring his business, removing every connection to his uncle's network." "He'll rebuild clean," Adrian said. "Yes, he will." Silence settled between them, not uncomfortable, just present. "How's the baby?" Isabella asked. "Growing," Alina's painting again. "Life is normal." Isabella allowed herself a small smile. "You deserve that." Adrian considered it. A year ago, he was hired to kill. Now he was protecting. The journey between those two states had been violent and painful and redemptive. "I do," he said finally. That evening, Adrian stood at the safe house, now truly a home, holding his daughter. Alina was in the kitchen making dinner. The smell of cooking filled the space. His phone buzzed. A message from Bill: "Thank you for everything." Adrian typed back, "For what?" "For showing me that choice matters, that we're not just what we're born into." Adrian stared at the message for a long moment, then looked at his daughter's face. She was sleeping peaceful, unaware of the violence that had surrounded her birth. She would grow up in a world her father had fought to make safe, not perfect, but safe. That was enough. The federal case against Victor Kane's remaining associates proceeded without him. His death had been ruled justifiable self-defense. Bill had been cleared. The conspiracy was exposed. Money laundering, murder, orchestrated violence. All of it collapsed when the head of the operation fell. Justice, in its messy form, had been served. 3 months later, Isabella hosted a private dinner at her penthouse. Adrian and Alina came with the baby. Bill arrived alone. Rebecca attended as well. They didn't celebrate. Celebration felt inappropriate for what they'd endured. Instead, they existed together, people bound by crisis and survival, and the choices they'd made when everything was falling apart. Isabella raised a glass. "To endings," she said, "and to the people who have the strength to make them." They drank. Outside, the city lights reflected off the glass windows. Somewhere in that city, Victor Kane's empire was being dismantled piece by piece. His assets were being seized. His secrets were being revealed. The man himself was gone. And in the quiet of Isabella's penthouse, surrounded by people who'd chosen conscience over convenience, Adrian Cole felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Real peace. Not the pause before the next storm, not the false calm before violence, but actual, genuine peace. He looked at Alina. She was laughing at something Bill said. His daughter was in Rebecca's arms, being held with the tenderness of a woman who understood what it meant to protect something precious. Isabella stood alone by the window, looking out at the city she'd fought so hard to protect. This was what winning looked like. Not clean, not perfect, but real. If you made it this far, you understand now what this entire story was about. It was never about money or revenge or even survival. It was about the moment when a man realizes he has a choice and chooses conscience over everything else. Adrian chose to protect instead of destroy. Bill chose justice instead of blind rage. And Isabella chose to trust people when the world had taught her to trust no one. That's the real victory, not the villain's death, but the victory of becoming better than the circumstances that created you. Drop a comment. What choice would you have made? And make sure you're subscribed because this trilogy is complete, but the story will stay with you. Thank you for watching Wacky Storytime TV. This is where it ends. And somehow that feels like just the beginning.